This is the answer key to the February 10th, Module 8.3 Desmos classwork problems. There is $90 in the bank account. Analia withdrew 10% of the account. How much did Analia withdraw? So in the percent model, since the whole bank account is $90, the whole rectangle equals 90. So the rectangle has 10 squares inside. Because if I were to shade the whole thing, that would equal 100%. And if you look, we could count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% is the whole box. There are 10 boxes. So 90 divided by 10 is 9. So each box equals 9. And what that means is 10% of 90 is 9. And we talked in class that 10%, the benchmark fraction for 10% is 1/10. And when you find 1/10 of something, you're dividing that number by 10. And a fast way to divide a number by 10 is move the decimal once to the left. Now in the number 90, the decimal would be to the right. So it's 90. 10% of it, I move the decimal once to the left and it becomes 9. So 10% of 90 is 9. And since Analia withdrew 10%, I shade one box to represent 10%, and that equals 9. So Analia withdrew $9. Match the percent of a number. 1 is not used. So remember, 10% means you're dividing the number by 10. You're finding a tenth of it. So look at 40. The decimal would be after the 0. Move it 1 to the left. 10% of 40 is 4. 40 divided by 10 is 4. 10% of 400 divided by 10. Move that decimal 1 to the left. 400 would become 40. 10% of 80 divided by 10. 80 divided by 10 is 8. Move that decimal once to the left. 10% of 8,000 divided by 10. Move the decimal once to the left. 800. And one of the cards is not used. Now, there are 50 staff members at Shore Middle School. One day, 30% of them were absent. How many staff members were absent? So since there's a total of 50 staff members, the whole percent model represents 50. 50 divided by 10 is 5. So each square represents 5. So 10% of 50 is 5. Remember, when you're finding 10%, divide the number by 10. So if 30% were absent, how many were absent? So I shaded 3 boxes to represent 30%, and that equals 5 plus 5 plus 5, which equals 15. So 15 absent staff members. Now, another way you could have solved this without using percent model, I'm going to erase the answer the answer to this. So I'll show you a couple ways that I showed in the video to be able to answer this question. Oh, I did want to mention this. If the question asked 30% were absent, how many staff members were present? You can use a percent model to figure that out. To figure out how many staff members were present, you would look at the unshaded part. The orange part is the staff members that are absent. The rest are the staff members that are not absent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 5 is 35 staff members were present. Now, another way to find the 30%, 10% of 50 equals 5. So to find 30%, you could take 10% times 3 to get 30. So you multiply 5 times 3 to get 15. So 30% of 50 equals 15. You can use the 10% to help you. And then another way to solve this, 30%, I could write it as 30 out of 100 because percent means out of 100. $50 staff members. So since it's out of 50, you know that fraction means parts to a whole. So I put 50 on the bottom because that's a whole staff. And I don't know how many out of 50 makes 30%? So if you look at this, 100 divided by what makes 50? 100 divided by 2. So what's 30 divided by 2? 15. So 15 staff out of 50 equals 30%. Number 4. Here we have students at Piscataway High School, 1,800 total students in the school. So that represents our whole model. Divided by 10 is 180. So each 10% square represents 180 students. If 20% of the students are in band, how many students are in band? I shaded 2 boxes, which represents 20% of the students who are in band. 180 plus 180 equals 360. So out of all the students, 360 are band students. So there were attempted 350 passes. So the whole thing's out of 350. Divided by 10, you get 35. Justin completed 70% of the passes that was attempted. So if I look, I shade 7 boxes, that's 735. So I multiplied 35 times 7, you get 245. So the answer is 245 passes. You could also say 10% of 350 is 35. So if 10% equals 35, 70% would be times 7. So 35 times 7 equals 245. At a shelter, 15% of the dogs are puppies. There are 40 dogs altogether. So if the whole thing is out of 40, then each box represents 4. Now this question's a little different than the others because the percent is 15%. So what I first did is I shaded 10%. Now to shade 15%, I had to shade 5 more, so that's half of the next box. So I ended up having to cut the 10% in half. The first left is 5%, the second to the right is 5%. Together makes 10%. And then the 4 of this square also had gotten split, 2 on the left, 2 on the right to make the 4. Now, combined, this makes 15%, so 4 and 2 make 6. So 6 puppies out of the 40 make 15%. So this vacation costs $1,400, $1,400. So if it's all out of $1,400, that means each 10% is $140. Now, so far they saved 5% of what they need. So we actually don't even shade a whole box. I split that first box in half, 5% on the left, 5% on the right to make the 10%. The $140 in the first box also got split, 70 on the left, 70 on the right. 5% of $1,400 is $70. So far, the family saved $70. While shopping at Target yesterday, Davian found a great sale. All art supplies was marked as 40% off. If Davian's bill came to $140 before the discount, how much did Davian end up paying after the sale? Explain. So if Davian were to purchase all the art supplies and it was not on sale, it would cost $140. So the percent model represents that. 140 divided by 10 is 14. So each box represents $14. Now, if there's 40% off, I put that in red. I shaded 4 boxes to represent how much was taken off the price. So when we found $56, that's not how much Davian spent on the art supplies. 56 represents how much was taken off. So to figure out how much Davian spent, you would take the 140 minus the $56 off, and that means that Davian would spend $84 on art supplies, which is a great price, especially if it was originally 140. So I explained that. Now, another way you could have figured out, if you looked at the model, if this is how much is being taken off, that means that the unshaded is actually the amount that Davian is paying for. Davian's paying for 60% of the original price. So I could have actually taken 14 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 14 times 6 to get $84. What's 120% of 50? If I want to model 120%, now this percent is actually over 100. So what I had to do first is I had to shade 100%, and all 100% equals 50. Then in the other one, I shaded 20%. But in this one, if the whole thing's out of 50, each 10% is 5. So 20% of 50 is 10. So I have to combine that. 50 plus 10 equals 60. Now another way without using percent model, 100% equals 50 plus 20% equals 10. So together it equals 60. A baseball player won 80% of the games he pitched. If he pitched 35 games, how many games did he win? So if you look at this, there's 35 games. Now this problem's a little different. If I divide 35 by 10, again, you move the decimal once to the left. 35 has no decimal, so it's at the end. I would move this decimal once to the left, it becomes 3.5. So every number underneath the square is 3.5. Now, since this baseball player wins 80%, I shaded 8 boxes. So I multiplied 3.5 times 8. And act like you're multiplying whole numbers. So 35 times 8 is 280. Then throw the decimal back in. The answer is 28. Now, I actually didn't do 3.5 times 8. What I did is, I'll show you. I noticed that 3.5 plus 3.5 equals 7. Oops. That equals 7. So I matched up the other 3.5 and 3.5. That's another 7. Here's another 7. And here's another 7. That allowed me to see, 7 times 4, 28 games. 1. Alberto had $200 and spent $155 on gifts for his family. He found a pair of jeans for himself for $60 that are currently 25% off. Does Alberto have enough money to buy himself jeans? So first, let's see how much is left to spend on family. $200 minus $155 means Alberto has $45 left to spend. Now, if the jeans cost $60 and is 25% off, let's see how much those jeans will cost. So I did use a percent model. If the jeans are $60, each 10% is $6. 25% off means we shade 2 boxes plus half of one. So 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. So $15 off. To find out the cost of the jeans, we did $60 minus 15. That's $45 for the jeans, and that's exactly how much Alberto has left to spend. Now, instead of using percent model, another way I could have solved this, I know that 25% as a fraction is 1/4. 1/4 of 60 is 15. So $15 off, that's another way. Or you could think if 1/4 is being taken off, then 3/4 is what you're actually paying for. 3/4 times 60 is 45. And the last question. Mona Lisa and Ayan are arguing about who is a better point guard. Mona Lisa's team has scored 160 points so far this season, and Mona Lisa scored 25% of those points. Ayan's team has scored 200 points, and Ayan scored 20% of the total points. Who is the better point guard? Explain. Try to solve without using percent model. Use other methods. So for Mona Lisa, I changed 25% into 1/4, and I found 1/4 of the 160 points. In the lesson video, I did mention that of could be changed replaced with multiplication. So when you're finding 1/4 of 160, it equals 40 points. Ayan scored 20%. 20% equals, well, actually with this one, 20% does equal 1/5, but instead of looking at 20%, I know 20% could come from 10%. 10% of 200 is 20. So 20% would be twice that amount, which is 40. They both tied. Mona Lisa and Ayan both scored 40 points for their team, so neither is a better point guard. They're both good. Feel free to go back and try